Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar on health and mental fitness workshop series for small business owners. This workshop series is being presented to you by Shatsuma Hawaii in collaboration with the Patsy Teammate Center for Business and Leadership. Today's session is going to be focused on dealing with stress and anxiety. Please note that today's webinar is being recorded and we'll be forwarding you all a link to the video after today's session. Now, before we go on, I would like to introduce you to our team. My name is Brittany Montiliano. I am the program manager for the Patsy Teammate Center for Business and Leadership. And also, too, we have Maylin Zambrano, who will be assisting with the tech for today. In case you experience any issues or technical issues, rather, please be sure to contact Maylin. She'll be entering her information into the chat area. Now, I would like to introduce you to our presenters for today. We're so excited to have their support of our small business community. We have Alice Inouye, who is the founder of Happiness You. And also, too, we have Yvette Maskery, who is a branch manager of Honeywell. Now, right over here, we have some general contact information for you in case you would like to get in contact with Alice or also to MCBL for some free business counseling. Please be sure to get in contact with us. Now, Alice, I hand it over to you.
And on stress, anxiety, worry, all of the things, overwhelm that we're all going through. Yvette, did you want to say something?
Well, I just want to say the same. Thanks everyone for being on. If you are comfortable with putting your cameras on, we love to see faces. It helps us with like any potential pauses or anything like that that you would want to I guess raise your hand along the way, like not just through Zoom, but actual for real. Like feel free to do that. But yeah, I've been working with Alice for about 4 years now. It's been a great experience for our teams, being able to connect with her and getting into our happiness mindset. So most of this presentation is going to be led by Alice. I'll chime in as needed, but please, if you have any questions, feel free to chat them out, and we'll go as we go. We want to make this as informal as possible, and this is really for you. So
yeah, and I thought, and it's really neat because as Yvette said, I've been helping with her business, just coming in once a month or so and talking about these things, and it's something that I absolutely love to do. But the value in having Yvette here today is because she is actually in the working world, actually doing it. So we're so like Yvette said, I'll start off, and I'm going to sort of lead with what the topic is, and then we'll chat back and forth on different things. So let me share my screen. So what you should see in just a moment is a diminished stress in the workplace. Yes. Oh, you know what? I need to do one thing before I get into it. Sorry, I have to shift this. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay. So let me just jump in. And then Yvette, I thought maybe what I'll do is I'll kind of share my thing, and then I'll just see if you have anything to say and I can actually see you. So raise your hand if there's something to shift. And today, our topic is stress, as you know, and I'm going to enter and start with how to overcome any overwhelm you might have. We're going to look at how to see stress in a new way and minimize any worry that you might have. This is kind of the overall topic of stress. There's so much overwhelm, stress, worry, all of that kind of comes into play, anxiety, all of that. So, here, let's just start with overwhelm. And it's important to me to start with this topic: time. Have you ever said there's just not enough time in the day? And I think we all have said that. And I start with this because whenever challenges happen or whenever we become overwhelmed with things, we tend to blame it on time. Like, oh, if only I had another hour in the day, if only I had more time, then I can do such and such. So it starts out with, we don't want to blame time, that there's enough time to do everything. And time isn't your enemy. So it's just starting the mindset of a shift, because when we're overwhelmed, when we're worried, when we have lots on our plate, we think it's time, but it's not. It's really our mindset. So I just start with this one because you know that when you need to get something done, when there's a deadline at the end of the day, and you think you need 5 hours, but you only have three, somehow we get it done. And so there's the same amount of time for everyone. So we start with that. It's not about time. Okay. So let me jump in with the first one. Productivity. It says here, affirm your productivity. When overwhelmed, we usually only think of that we didn't do. And I want you to think about how at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, we rarely focus on all we got done. We focus on what we didn't do. So much of what we do at Happiness You, and just in the way that I usually work with my trainings, is like we we want to focus on where things are working. We want to focus on where there is value. But our natural nature is to focus on the negative, what didn't happen, what we didn't do, how much yet we still have to do. So productivity is considered one of the best feelings in the world. And what that means is that when we are productive, we feel good. So, just like that mindset of not blaming time for not finishing everything, but really looking to see what you can do, then we want to make sure that at the end of the day, at the end of the hour, at the end of whatever, that you don't look back and say what you didn't do. We talk about what we did do. The feeling of productivity is proven to be one of the best feelings in the world. And if at the end of the day you can actually look back and affirm where you've been productive, you start to create a more balanced perspective of your day. How you feel is based on what you're focusing on, and what you focus on creates your reality. So if we keep focusing on what's not working, our reality will be more negative. If we can focus on what is also working and what we did complete, not what we didn't complete, we'll feel better. So that's my first tip. I wanted to just bring in Yvette to see, like, is there anything you wanted to share about this and productivity? Because your business is busier than anybody's business. Your life is busier than anybody I know.
I think that no, and it's definitely a mindset thing. Honestly, like if you kind of look back, actually, sometimes you do exactly what you said. I mean, even just for me on a personal level, there were a few things this earlier this year that I thought, oh, I didn't get all these things done. But then as soon as I went, oh, but these things got done and this got done, you just really feel a lot better, and you don't feel as stressed about about all the things that
Yeah.
didn't get done. So yeah, it really is a shift in on the plus side versus the minus.
Right. So I think that everything that I am sharing with you today is all stuff that I know is good, that works. But I'll just say that this is the one that gets the most feedback from me for me over the years. It's like when you're driving home, if you're driving home, or when you're kind of settling down at the end of the day, all we want you to do is to think, what did I do? What did I accomplish? And if your first thought is to say nothing, I just just spaced out on social media all day, well, you learned something. You learned something about your friends, you learned about new products. I'm sure you got lots of ads dropped into your feed. Like there's things that you gain. So we don't want to devalue anything. Value comes if you put value on it. So if we put value on what you did do, then the overall feels so much better. um, okay, so then the other thing is your shoulds, managing your shoulds. Overwhelm comes from within your mind in the form of having too many shoulds. This is such a big deal as well. I'm certain we all have this. We say in our head, I should eat better. I should exercise more. I should go to bed earlier. I should work on this project. I really should get my fence fixed. I should. So when you say the word should, it kind of puts this thing in your head like you're not doing the right thing. And then you start feeling less than, and then you start feeling overwhelmed because there's all these things you should be doing. But again, it goes back to that first principle. What are you doing? Because what you are doing is valuable and is important. If what you say you should do is as important as you think it is, then you would have done it already, right? Or when it's time to do something that you should do, like clean the house, when do you clean it? Well, when there's company coming over. When do you decide to eat healthier? It's when the doctor says, gosh, if you don't, you're going to be in trouble. So whenever you hear yourself say should, recognize that if it was something you needed to hold and carry around and do, you would. So if you're not going to do it, I have people that have these shoulds on their list for 10 years, like just carrying around a should. So if you're not going to do it, we want to take it out of your head. Let me go through all this and I'll see if Yvette has any jump in on this. So who's your authority? The only reason why you say should is because in your head, somebody told you at some time that that is important. But what you're actually doing is what you think is more important. So you're subordinating to a voice in your head. So whenever you hear the word should in your head, you want to ask yourself, who says? Who's the one that said that that is important? Because if that was also important to you, you would clean or you would do whatever it is that you think you should do. As an example, you might say, oh, I should keep my room cleaner. I should keep my kitchen cleaner. You see some grunge and you should. So that just by saying I should, you've already taken a unit of energy in your head and sort of locked it up, because now you have to hold that you're not doing what you think you should do. So if you ask yourself, who says a kitchen has to be that standard of clean? Because whatever you did was what you thought was good. But if you say should, that's somebody else's thought. So you might say, oh, that was my auntie or my grandmother or my uncle or whoever that put that thought in your head, because that's their priority. It's not yours. So once you realize that the voices in your head that say should are actually not your voices at all, then you kind of can relax on that. So when you ask yourself, who is the one saying you should, then it's usually not you, because you'll do exactly what you need to do. And it gives me an example, because my assistant, she doesn't wake up in the morning and say, oh, I should clean my house. Oh my gosh, she loves cleaning her house. She can't wake up. She follows all these Instagram like clean mama. And they give her tips on how to clean and how to do it. And then she'll text me like so excited, like, oh God, it felt so good. I just used this new wax on my floor. It's great. Feels so good. So I might say to myself, I should clean my kitchen like Erin, but that's her way and that's her priority. I always tell her, you should be doing your work. Like, what are you doing cleaning your house? So what I'm saying is that you are inspired to do the things that you want. Anytime you're saying should, it's usually not you. So that's my thing on shoulds. You've got anything to add on a should level?
Yeah, I think I really, ever since we did this one too, right, Alice? Every time I hear the word should, which is often coming out of myself, especially at work, that when you're customer facing, I think all of our small businesses here, I mean, you're always looking at like your product or your service and what can you do better for your customer, and when there's some feedback where you think someone wanted something differently, you go, oh, I should have, or or that we should have. And our team does that a lot too, like people saying we should have done this, retroactively. And I think it's just getting out of like the, like you said, the who is the authority, because it's a good, it's always good to be in that continuous improvement mindset, but you don't want to beat yourself up. It's taking any of the things that are real in that voice, and sort of saying, okay, yes, that's a good improvement area, but you don't get stuck on it, and kind of beat yourself up over the should.
Yeah.
And trying to find it, like you said, like that word. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point. I don't think about that way, because someone would say that to you, and then you can use it. Do we improve on it? And do we make that choice to do it? Or is it somebody else's priority? So as a business, you probably have your own shoulds, and it may come from the outside, but then on the inside. So again, it's like individual, collective, it's all tied together. I just find this to be such a good reminder, because we always somehow think there's something else that's more important, or there's just too many things to do. But if you can only do 10 things, and you're doing the 10 things that you want to do, then if there's 12 things, the two shoulds just won't fit in your 10 things. You just won't. So it's owning, again, same thing like time, same thing like the overwhelm in terms of being productive. You're owning it. Whatever you're doing, you're putting value to it, right? So it's like you're doing it. It's not about time. Time is always there for you. What are you doing? Are you valuing what you did do? Are you where you are productive? Are you doing what you are doing? You're choosing what to do. And are you carrying around the should? It's just I think it's just the recognition that you recognize that you're doing it, because I find in my coaching practice that that word should, it's like, oh, I should do this, I should do this, there's so many things I should do, and that alone is overwhelming. But if you're not going to do it, let's take it off your head. So that's the should thing. And here's the key here. We always have the time, the money, and the energy to do the things we really want to do. It's human nature. If you want something, you really want something, and you don't have the money, you will beg, borrow, steal, get a new credit card to do it if you really want it, right? If you really want to go somewhere, even you could be rock bone tired, exhausted, but you will find the energy to do something you really want to do. Let's say you love Mariah Carey, and somebody says, "Hey, she's in town for dinner. You want to go?" If you didn't want to, you would make an excuse. Oh, I don't have the energy. Oh, I don't have the time. But if you want to, you make the time, you make the energy. So all of this is just to say that whatever you're doing now, whatever worries you have on your mind, real worries, whatever energy you're putting out, or anything you're doing, it's because even though you think you have to, if you're doing it, there is a benefit to you. And so anything you're doing, just recognize that you're not doing anything you don't want to do. Like if you say, "Oh, I'm going to this event," or I'm doing this because I don't really want to do it, but I'm doing it because I have to. Well, you're doing it because you have to, but maybe you're doing it because you don't want to look bad in the community, or you don't like to say no. So it's easier to do it than to say no. So everything you do or don't do has a reason, has a purpose. So when we start to own our time, then we start to diminish a lot of the stress and anxiety and overwhelm, because you know you're doing the best you can at every given moment. Okay, so we're going to go into stress now. So just to recap, since I'm familiar with this, so the first thing was with the overwhelm was it's not about time. We all have 24 hours a day. It's not time. It's you. So if it's you, how are you thinking about what you've done or haven't done? So at the end of the day, if you feel like, oh, so overwhelmed, look at all you did do. That will help you to balance your perception of how you spent your time. And then if you still hear these voices of should in your head, you want to recognize, well, if I wanted to, I would have done it. And if those shoulds are so heavy and they do need to be done, take them off your head and put them in your calendar, so that you know that when that time comes, then you'll do it then, but you don't need to carry it around today. And when it comes to stress, I think we all feel it. There's a there's two kinds of stress. There's eustress and distress. I don't know if you've heard about the difference. So distress is usually what the stress that we have that we don't like. Eustress is spelled EUSTRESS. Eustress is considered good stress. And we need stress in order to improve. Like without stress, we would just become a fat, lazy blob of nothing. We wouldn't have any energy to move forward. So we need stress, the contrast of stress. So when we talk about stress, we want to make sure that we recognize that it's just the bad stress that we're kind of talking about. And after I explain this, then I want to see if Yvette has anything to say. I like to look at stress as the inability to adapt to a changing environment. So just read it again. Stress is the inability to adapt to a changing environment. So the environment is always changing. So if you can move with the changes, you'll have less stress. So that's why the older we get, the better we are at handling stuff, because we've learned how to adapt. We've learned how to let go of the fear. So when people say, what is stress? I will say, well, stress is actually, it's both a good thing and a not so good thing. But if we learn how to adapt, then we learn how to move out of a lot of stress. Yvette, anything to add on stress?
And I mean, just a couple of thoughts, and we have a question too, Alice. But I mean, I think exactly what you're talking about, the chronic versus episodic stress, right? So the sort of the occasional stress is kind of sometimes can be a good. It's like that thing that kind of gives you the energy to move forward. But if it's all the time, there's a lot of health impacts with that too, right? And then you can't really see what are the things that are important. So it really is everything you've talked about leading up to this on. It can't be every day. So it's seeing your time differently, right? Seeing the things you did do, kind of just having that positive mindset. But I want to get to one of the questions that we got in the chat is, do you have a great tool that you use to manage your to-do list?
Yeah, I do. Yvette, what's yours? How do you do? I'll tell you about mine.
I have different ones depending on what it is. So one life hack that I'll just mention right here is I do have one of those Alexa devices. And so for my just grocery shopping, it's the best thing ever because you can just tell it that you need this. Like put milk on my shopping list, and when I go to the store, it's already there. So that is one of my favorite sort of life hacks because it's on your phone. You have the Alexa app, and it's all your lists are there. And so I use that for some of my other to-do lists as well. So that's a quick one, but I'll pass back to you, Alice.
Huh, that's a good one. Yeah, I haven't met her yet. I see her. I see Siri on the phone. I hear about all these like ladies that can help me. I got to get hooked up with those. Yeah, that's great. I'm old school. I like that. In fact, I need to do that. What I do every morning that really helps me, and if I get to, I do it the night before. And these are so simple, and you guys know this, so but it's just what I do. I write on a piece of paper, old school style. I write the day, like today's Thursday, and then on the top I write uh, what do I write? I write primary, and then I write secondary, and then on the right side, I list like I have like a little schedule thing, and then it's like to call, to text, to do. So it's almost like um, like the primary ones are things that I know that I need to get done. And then there within there, if it's a short thing, like it takes 10 minutes or less, I star it. That way when I have breaks in between, because like today, like I already coached six people, had one full meeting, did half an hour presentation, and now I'm here with you. And so in between the other one, I had like 5 minutes, and then I was able to like send off a text, cross it off, if respond to an email. So I organize it. That's all. I organize my day, and I don't overcommit because that can be overwhelming. If I think I'm going to get more done and I write it all down, it just doesn't work. So that's what I use. I just use a very simple piece of paper. It's like short things to do, primary things to do, and then to call, to text, to buy, to go. Like it just helps me. And if I think of something during the day, I put it in the right block. So that's mine. And that's how I adapt to a changing environment.
That's great. We also got one in the chat that was the best tool is the delete key. So I really like that one. So true. Sometimes take off the things you don't really need to do, right?
That is that I'll get to talk to your company about this tomorrow, but I did I there's studies on these people that are extremely productive. Like how you might look at someone and go, how in the world do you get so much done in a day? And so they started studying the minds of these people, and they're called multipliers. And so in the mind of a multiplier, somebody who can multiply time, it's like, how do you get so much done in so little time? They're multipliers. And when they studied their brains, the first thing that comes into the first thing a multiplier thinks is when a task comes onto their plate is, can I not do this? All of us other people say, oh my God, how am I going to get this done? I need to put on this, I need to do it. What multipliers do is they basically delete, take stuff off their list, so they only do what's totally essential. And you guys know this, sometimes it takes care of itself. When you procrastinate on stuff, all of a sudden it gets taken care of and you really didn't need to do it. So that was like a huge one. But it takes a lot of practice because we're so used to doing, not deleting. Yeah.
Yeah, and just complementary to that, Alice, I would say too is a tool that I keep trying to incorporate is when you get asked when something ends up on your to-do list that actually comes from someone else, like either someone asks you to do something or your customer asks you to do something or even your client, it's asking back, when is this truly due?
Yes.
Because I think a lot of us, right, are so customer driven. We really want to, get something done quickly, timely, but sometimes maybe it's not due today. Maybe it's not due tomorrow. Maybe it's not due till a month from now, or that they really need it. So really kind of putting those boundaries around the amount of time that you have to dedicate to a task is different maybe than when they want it.
Yes. And anyone who is overwhelmed, uh, stressed, worried, anxious, sometimes it's because we put a greater importance on what other people need versus what we need. So even though you might have some very important things that need to be taken care of, but somebody else put something on, if you make that priority, then you're subordinating your needs to someone else's, and then you put yourself behind the gun. So that's why when you're clear on, okay, you need this, but I'm busy right now, but I can do it by next week, Tuesday, then it helps us to not feel stressed. So that's a super good point.
Yeah, and one last one in the chat that came through, Alice, I just wanted to share with everyone. Create a simple habit, make your bed every morning. A bed made takes away the attention from the rest of the room because it's the centerpiece. That is something I've heard time and time again. It's something I actually do. It gives me, it makes me feel calm starting my day. But yes, I just wanted to share that too.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, because it puts you in control. It sets you up right. It's like make your bed, your to-do list. Morning routines actually help with stress where there's something that you are in control of. And whenever we're in times where there's a lot out of our control, there's a lot of uncertainty, then the more certainty we can create, the more control we put into our day, the better we feel. And so, yeah, those are great, especially first thing in the morning to have a routine. That's another thing that multipliers do. They have a routine and they have automation in effect, and they think, what can I not do? Just so that we can get to the grit of what we need to. Okay, there we go. So here's one that often I bring up a lot, stress and perception. Studies were done to show how what we think and how we perceive of something makes a difference. And the reason why I say this is because we've been taught that stress is bad. Like you go to where do you go? You go to the doctor. The doctor's like, oh, you know, your stress level, your heart rate, you know, all the things. You need to go home. You gotta just not work so much, or you need to let go and de-stress. And that's the old way. And then they started doing more studies, and they recognized that, wow, changing how you think about stress and how you think about your life will actually shift how you feel about it. So I wanted to share that with you because it's so valuable and it's actually helped me so much. So, what is stress? So, how is stress negatively impacting you? What we do know, it's linked to the 6 leading causes of death. 70 to 90% of doctor visits are linked to stress related issues, and it negatively affects most of our human organs. So, we already know stress is negative, not good. The study that they did, which I'm sharing with you now, is they took a large group of people, questioned them, what their stress level is, how stress is negatively impacting them, what kind of symptoms they're having. So they took all these people that were stressed, and then they divided them into group A and group B. Group A was talked to for 5 minutes about negative impact of stress. So remember the researcher dressed like authority people, right? Because when somebody is an authority, we subordinate, we listen to that. So these researchers that posed as medical authorities came in and talked to this large group of people, it's like 250 people, and said, you guys, I'm reading your questionnaire. You guys are very, very stressed. Look at all the bad things that stress does. You guys need to go back and get rid of your stress. Then group B was told only positive aspects of stress. They said, hey, you guys, we have some new data on stress. You guys all came in because you're stressed, but did you know that hormones released by stress response boost your performance and memory? You may think you're losing your memory, but actually your memory is better than if you weren't stressed out. Hey, did you know that your stress facilitates your mental toughness? You are tough. And you guys know that, right? When the people that deal with a lot of stress are mentally tough. People that can't deal with stress, they're all willy-nilly, they cry, they whine, they can't deal with it. So if you're under stress, you're mentally tougher than others. This is my favorite. It deepens social bonds. All the studies on stress show that when you are stressed, as human beings, we need connection. So like if I'm really stressed and Yvette's my friend, I'm going to call Yvette. I'm going to talk about my stress, and she's going to talk about her stress and all the things that aren't going well. And her and I become closer because of it. So 10 years later, we're friends. We're not stressed anymore, but we're closer because of the stress in our mutual businesses. So stress is great. All those people you're drinking with and talking to, that is helping. That is a benefit of stress. It strengthens your priorities. When we're stressed, we know what do we need to do first, second, third, fourth. You get very, very smart at your priorities. And finally, it increases the speed at which the brain processes information. So your brain moves faster when you're stressed. So these scientists, remember, they dressed like authorities and they came to these 250 people and said all of this. It was considered groundbreaking in the studies of stress, and this is through um, this was a Harvard-based study that I read, and this was in 2012. So it's almost 10 years ago. But I go to stress workshops and I take stuff, and I don't see this being offered, and it's so important because what they found 6 weeks later, after Group A and B, negative Group A, positive Group B came back, they had them do all the questionnaires. They found that the Group A that were told of the negative aspects ended up with a 6% higher stress level and more aches and pains. The ones that were told the positive aspects of stress came back with 23% less physical ailments. And that was considered like, wow, nothing changed. All they did was talked about the positive and negative. So all I'm sharing with you is that when we look at our lives differently, when we look at our challenges differently, when we can tie a benefit of all the stress you're going through to something positive, your stress diminishes. So the question to you is, have you ever thought how your stress is helping you? We just think stress is bad. I don't want stress. No more stress. I hate stress. But my God, what if some of the stress you're going through is helping you? Like all this pandemic business stress that I've been going through. Oh my God, I've become so savvy at different things. And I've never had my finances so organized, because in order to like apply for all these loans and grants and stuff, you need everything together. So I feel like my stress has helped me get more organized in certain areas. What do you think, Yvette, about this?
Yes, for sure. All the exactly what you said, Alyssa. Areas that like provides you the most stress, of course, you focus on the most, and then that's where you try, all of that effort goes there. So then that becomes then the flip, right? Where you go, okay, that I'm addressing, I'm fixing it. So now I can try to turn to see like the positive out, the productive outcomes that come out of it. Yeah, that was a really good example of the financials, I'm sure. Last year. Oof.
Right. And then even how have like the positive aspect was, and I just thought about this now, the positive, what was it like, um oh, priorities. It strengthens your priorities. Have you guys noticed that there's certain people that you just don't talk to anymore? Like they sort of faded out of your life because before you subordinated to something that you thought was a priority. So that all the stress from the pandemic has allowed us to clean up our life, to connect with the people we want to, have excuses. Oh no, like I tell you, you have the time, energy to go out and do what you want to do. So if somebody calls you and says, oh, like let's get together, and you really want to see them, you'll come out of the pandemic, you'll distance and you'll hang out with them. But if you don't, you'll be like, oh, I'm kind of distancing now, or you'll give some excuse. So the whole thing is like, you just want to own your life. So all the stress of the pandemic, all the stress of business that any of you, I think, are just like me as far as an entrepreneur, have our own business, like all of the stress. My studio is down at Salt in Kaka'ako, and there's 42 tenants there, and most of them are retail. We are just a training center, and all of this stress about all of us not being able to make enough money to pay the rent from our spaces has gotten all the tenants so close, and we meet every month or so and everybody talks about what's going on. I would have never gotten to know these people had we not gone through this. So our stress is helping. And even if you think that's no big deal, I'm still stressed out, just planting the seed, just talking to someone about how have we benefited with all of this craziness will help your brain to balance out. Because if you can, how you think affects how you feel. And so if our stress comes from how we think, if we start thinking a little differently, we can start feeling a little bit differently as well. Okay, so I like to ask this question: why do you stress? And people will, when we're in person, uh, people will say all kinds of things. Oh, I stress because of this, because that, because I want to do a good job, or because I don't want to let my family down, or I want to look good. It all boils down to one thing. And if you guys are on your chats, maybe because Yvette can read the chat, can you guys chat in? Why do you stress? Okay, okay, let me change it. What is one reason why everyone stresses? Not just you, but why does everyone stress? I'll give you like one few moments. And if nobody chats at anything, I'm gonna actually give away the answer. Okay, nobody's chatting. So why do we
I
all
haven't seen anything, Alice,
stress?
yet.
Okay, you're just so stressed you can't answer. That's okay. What do you care about? We stress because we care.
Never feel like you have enough money,
Okay. Okay, great. Stress because you don't know if you have enough money. That is stressful. But then
security,
what else?
security.
Right? To security. Yeah. Yeah. Because we care about something. That I found this to be so insightful. Oh, more coming in.
Comparing ourselves to others.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. And because we care. And I think that kind of boils down to being human, right? Like I stress because I care about being able to pay my bills, right? If you didn't care, you would just not pay your bills. It'd be no big deal, right? You would just keep living the way you did. Um, the main thing is that when we can compare what we stress about to what we care about, it just shows that you are engaged with life. Because when we stop stressing, we stop caring, then we start to become detached. So sometimes it's good to ask yourself, what is it? Do you care about your reputation? Do you care about, putting food on the table? Yes, that's survival. What do you care about? When we recognize that I stress because I care, it kind of gives it a little bit more of a human. It's not just stress just happens, because if you didn't care, you wouldn't stress. Okay, so any more on stress for you, Yvette? Okay. Okay, so this next part is on worry, and it all kind of ties together: stress, overwhelm, anxiety, worry, negativity in the brain. So it's all kind of under that stress umbrella. But worry is something that not everyone does, but I think it's important to bring it up because I always will find just maybe two or three or four people in a group that will say, "Oh my God, yeah, I'm a worrier." You would never know it on the outside, but I have a lot of worry. So I wanted to help minimize that kind of worry. And the worry comes from these internal voices like fear, worry, anxiety, negativity. And worry is something that I've been studying a lot. And you may not know this, or you may, but worry is a habit. It's not something intrinsic to being human. Laughter, sadness, surprise, fear, all of that is natural as humans. All human beings, no matter what culture, what country you live in, you have those. But worry is learned. It's a patterned behavior that you learn from someone, a mother, an auntie, an uncle, a somebody, a teacher. And somehow worry is the hardest thing to break, because there's this thing like, if I don't worry about it, it something might happen. But I know that the more I worry about it, the more likely it is going to happen. But somehow if I don't worry about it, I feel like I'm not doing my job, so I don't want to worry about it. I know I shouldn't. So it's like all that weird stuff. So this is what I wanted to help kind of break, if this is part of it. So your brain lies to you when you're feeling fear. And I'm going to talk about this. When you assign probability, you force your brain to repattern to think objectively. So when you are worried, it is not objective thinking, it's emotional, right? You think of a negative thought, you're afraid of something. So you think of a negative thought, and then you're like, oh my gosh, what's the worst that could happen? Oh my gosh, all the bad stories that have ever happened around this issue is going to come to your brain. And if you're a creative person, you're going to create the most amazing scenarios of negativity in the future. And you have to know that your brain tells lies. Not every thought is to be believed. As soon as a thought comes in, like, oh no, what if he doesn't da da da, or what if I don't get it done on time? And then it becomes, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get it done on time. And then it just catapults from there. So first thing is just to recognize that you don't want to believe every thought in your head, because you start distorting reality through that. I'll give this stat, and then I'll see if Yvette has anything to add. So the most important thing that I can tell you today about worry is that even as recent as 3 years ago, I didn't know this. All I knew is that most of what we worry about doesn't happen. That's the best that the studies have shown. But since then, we actually have real worry stats. 92% of your worries don't happen. I remember when I first learned this, I think Yvette, your company was the first one. I was so excited. I got on that bulletin board. I'm like, oh my God, I found a number, because numbers help to like align us. 92% of your worries don't happen. The 8% that do is not as hard as you imagined. So that simply means that right now, whatever's in your head, any mental noise, any sort of chatter, any sort of negativity, any sort of craziness, 92% is not going to happen. You're going to make your deadline. Your daughter's going to be fine. You know, like all the things that are rolling around in your head. They did a study. They took people and they had them write down every worry that's going on, from small worries such as my hair is going to get frizzy in the humidity, to big worries. I have a tumor and I don't know if it's cancerous or not. So at the end of the day, the week, the month, the year, they look back and collectively, this was it. And why it's not as hard as you imagined is because when something actually happens that is challenging for you, something really challenging, we're never alone. We might feel like it, but people come up. There's opportunities and synchronicities and friends and support that come up. And so that's why, even if the worst case scenario happened and you think it's going to be horrible, when you get there, it's actually not so bad. So, Yvette, anything to add on this worry thing that I'm talking
No,
about?
I remember when you went over this with us, and everybody was like, wow. But when you think back, and you can reflect back maybe on your own life, the last 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, and you think about some of the things that probably kept you up at night at that time, and you recognize that it really wasn't as bad as you imagined. Like you said, it really, so much of it doesn't materialize. And I know in another session that you've done for us, we also talk about sort of like intervention strategies to get yourself to stop being on the worry train, and I mean, I'll just share it here because I know it's not on our slides today, but like just that, even I know one of the ones you said was the feeling your toes. I actually just used it this week in a client call, because it was a pretty tense one, and I did the feel your toes and just kind of like center yourself a little bit when you're in the middle of it. So when you're on that worry train and you're just like spiraling out a little bit, I think you're on your last slide, it's just your brain kind of goes that way, and you tell yourself lies, and you start getting in this sort of, oh my goodness, the worst thing's going to happen. And it really isn't. And if you can just, even as simple as like your, what you said, like feel your toes, just kind of recenter yourself, could be like 2 seconds, but if you can do it real time in the middle of something, it'll help to stop that cycle so that you can move on, because a lot of it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's so true. I just want everyone to know that life never gets better unless you make it better. And oftentimes we wait for economy to be better, we wait for more money to come in, we wait for other people to start showing up, and then we worry about uncertainty in the future. So part of it is just rewiring your brain to think a little bit differently, and these are just things that sort of help. And I think that's why we show up to things like this. This is why I'm interested in sharing these things, because I came from a place where I was worried all the time. I was stressed all the time. Like, I know that how we think makes a difference. And without some sort of catch point, without sort of self-governance, we end up getting lost in stress, and that we don't need. And that's the thing. Stress is good, but we want to kind of feel balanced. We don't have to always want to manage stuff. So these things all help us to be more adaptable. This is what's really cool. So Harvard came out with these affirmations that actually rewire your brain if you say them. So when you are worried about something right now, if you say to yourself, I will keep my worry in proportion to the likelihood of the event, and you say it over and over again, I will keep my worry in proportion to the likelihood of the event, it makes sense. Your brain has two sides. There's the emotional side that goes off of feeling, and then there's the logical mental side that can get logic. So when we're really worried and it's lost control, it's the emotional brain that's just like, oh my God, everything's horrible, it's not going to work, let's go, and then you're just stuck. But if you take these affirmations and you say them, it makes sense to your logical brain. And if you keep doing it, it eventually brings both halves of your brain into a better balance. So I will keep my worry in proportion to the likelihood of the event. Uh, and here's an example. Let's say you worried a lot about your child every day or your business. It doesn't matter what. If you worried every day or every week of the 12 years your child was in school, you'll have mentally experienced the anguish and the cost literally thousands of times. Because when we envision something, it's as if we're living through it. If I were to ask you to envision sucking on a lemon, that acidic acid, and then adding a lihimui salty plum to it, already your mouth starts to salivate, because if you envision it, your body feels it. So what we want to do is recognize that there's a cost to worry. When you're worrying, you're going through it. That's why people that are really heavy worriers, you can see the worry lines, you can see the body breaking down more, simply because it's so hard on the body. So if you're into beauty or looking good in any way, that's another reason why you want to break your worry habit. But yeah, that's the cost of worry. And that it's, so in other words, here's another affirmation. And you know what we can do is I can send this, if you're interested. I can send the PDF to you guys, so that I know it's recorded, but you can send the PDF. So affirmation number 2: I will not ruin 10,000 days to be right on a handful. And saying that, I will worry in proportion to the likelihood of the event. I will not ruin 10,000 days to be right on a handful. This is such a great reminder, because that example with your child, at the end of the graduation at 12th grade, you're like, wow, I worried every day, but then only 5 things happened. It's like there's no sense, right, to do that. And the third affirmation is, I will not equate worrying with being loving or responsible. I will not equate worrying with being loving or responsible. I remember saying things like, I worry because I care, and there's no, you don't have to, you can still care but not worry, right? If you don't worry, it doesn't mean you're not responsible. You're still responsible, you're just not worrying about it. So this is such a great one in case you kind of feel like you kind of have to worry. I remember saying phrases like in the past, before I knew all about this, I would be like, well, if I didn't worry about it, who is going to worry about it? People would say like, why are you so worried about it? I'm like, well, somebody's got to worry about it. And yet that is a drain of my energy. Just like if you are a worrier, that is a drain of your energy. So these 3 affirmations actually really help. So here they are. Again, I will keep my worry in proportion to, the likelihood of the event. I will not ruin 10,000 days to be right on a handful. And I will not equate worrying with being loving or responsible. Yvette, anything to add on this one? I think this is the end of the presentation.
I think, yeah, I know you have I think your recap slide, Alice, but yeah, I think the one with this one, especially for me at work, that third one, right, is that you feel, I think, the weight of worrying for, your employees, your business, whatever, with being responsible. But the two don't necessarily align. They don't equate, that you don't have to place all this stress and worry on yourself and still make all the, get to all the responsibilities that you have without feeling stressed and worried about it. So kind of letting that go and taking the energy that you've got on the stress side and just applying it to the things that have to get done.
Yeah. And what I loved about learning about this whole worry thing was like, oh, they're not one and the same. But in our brain, it's just like, worry means you care, worry means you're responsible. So let's just worry about it. And then I realized like, wow, I can still care, but not worry. I can still be responsible and not worry, because worry damages me. And that doesn't help me to be more powerful and more abundant in my life. So that's it. Let me do a little recap and then we'll see if there's any questions. So the key points that we covered was, time is not your enemy. I know it. Sometimes people say, well, why do you even put that in there? It doesn't make sense. It does, because if you can own your time, then you can own your life. If you blame time, there's not enough time, then that means that you are you're sort of disempowered because you're saying it's not my fault. There's not enough time. So it's just to recognize that we have the time to do what we want to do. What you are doing is what you really want to be doing. And then at the end of the day, focus on where you've been productive. You already know what you didn't do. You don't have to remind yourself of all the things you didn't do, but we do have to put value to the things that we did do. Otherwise, our mind will eliminate it as valueless, and you'll see this one big void of nothingness, never finishing your job, never finishing everything, not getting it all done. And then you live in this overwhelmed state forever. So focus on where you've been productive, change that ratio, look for the positive benefits of your stress. How is your stress helping you? Are you showing your children a good example of how working hard gets you somewhere? What is it that you're doing that is helping you in other areas of your life that you might not even have connected it to? Remember that you stress because you care, you're human. So, what is it you care about? And that sometimes makes it like better, care. And then counter your worry with affirmations and the right questions. And the right questions are, do I really have to worry? Do I really have to, do I not care? Can I not worry and still care? And then 92%, right? 92% is just not going to happen. Okay, so that's our thank you. And let me stop the share and come back. And I think we have some time, right? A little bit of time. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Yvette, do you have any closing statements?
Well, we have a comment that was, try to reframe my worry into concern.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because being concerned is a good thing, but being worried just takes away from your energy, and it's just. I made this meme. I think I had a picture of a person laying in bed staring at the wall like they're worried, and then the phrase says, "Worry is an expensive down payment on something that you may never get." you know, it's like you're putting all this time and energy into worrying, but you might not get that worry. So just reminding yourself that it doesn't help the situation at all.
It's really good. I'll just throw it out to anyone else. I mean, you're welcome to either come off mute, or if you want to throw something into the chat box, I'll read it out for Alice. Or else I'll just kind of toss it here.
Feel
I
free
wonder.
to ask questions in the
Go
chat.
ahead, Milan. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe
no,
I was going to throw something out to everybody. What maybe coming out of 2020, maybe what was something that was very stressful in 2020 for you that you're seeing a little differently going into 2021? Maybe you can either come off mute or throw into the chat.
Yeah.
I know for us, I can start. I mean, just we all had to shift to the work from home, and there was a little bit of how is that going to work? Because some of the roles were easily done in the office, and some were not. And it's actually worked out. For the most part, technology did what it needed to do. So thank goodness for technology. But
Yeah.
that we were able to do that, and so that's great. And then even just on a personal level, I have an elderly father, and just dealing with boy, the isolation and the aloneness, and what were we going to do because now we couldn't see him, and or that I couldn't see him, and I needed to be a caregiver. I was fortunate enough to come upon an outside entity that does have care services, and I feel safe about going into his home. So that was a blessing too. But right away, Lanakila Pacific was great about Meals on Wheels and them delivering as needed. So, I mean, there are so many resources that when you can take the worry and apply it into more of like a problem solve, right? Then there's always something, like you said, there's always people there.
Yeah, and I'll just add in that people say there's like a bit of fear of the unknown, and there's no such thing as fear of the unknown. You're actually afraid of something. So it's almost like what Yvette reminded me is like when we define a strategy around it, like, oh, if this should happen, what am I going to do? Having strategies actually calm the anxiety, the worry, and the stress in the brain. It's all about strategies and stuff you can't control. And so, but what you do focus on is what you can control. You guys know this, but sometimes it helps to just come together and just reiterate some things that are really healthy for our mindset, especially during times like this.
Yeah. We have a comment. COVID helped us all better define what is essential.
Totally.
So true.
Yes, 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 and yes. And there's and I know, I mean, that it's just been so hard for so many people and in so many different ways. I don't think anybody was impacted the same way. You can't just assume that everyone is impacted in the same way. That's one thing I've learned this last year, talking to literally thousands of people. I realized that we all have handled it differently. We all have different backgrounds, different mindsets. But I do know that if we take the time to look for what is happening even within our businesses and how we're trying to reinvent and the things that have come up that would not have come up had this whole COVID thing not happened, really, really, really is just seeding our next level of growth as we move further into the year.
Sure.
Okay, gosh, I'm just wondering. Okay, it's almost time. All right, maybe this is a good time for Maylin to come back and
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys so much, Alice and Yvette. That was a wonderful presentation, so insightful for our small business community. So I thank you so much for your expertise and your time with our Shop Small Hawaii members and our MCBL clients. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen.
yeah.
All right. So as we are wrapping up this webinar, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. Shop Small Hawaii is presented by Central Pacific Bank. Our mission is to provide business resources and tools to small business owners in Hawaii by providing access to free Shop Small Hawaii marketing workshops, such as this one, free social media promotion for your business, personal invitation to all partner education programs, and small business networking opportunities. Shop Small Hawaii is free for all local Hawaii small businesses to join. So you can visit www.shopsmallhawaii.com to learn more and to become a member. Also, if you're looking for further business assistance, MCBL offers free to low-cost services, including business counseling and free legal counseling in partnership with the Business Law Corps. So if you're interested in scheduling an appointment, you can give us a call at 808-695-2635, or you can email us at mcbl@ywcaoahu.com. Last, please join Shop Small Hawaii and MCBL for our next webinar in the Health and Mental Fitness series on shifting your mindset on Thursday, March 4th, and leading yourself and your team to grow on Thursday, March 11th, both at 10 a.m. And that will be facilitated by Robin Stuber. You may find more information about the webinar and other events coming up on our website at mcblhawaii.org or shopsmallhawaii.com. And as a final reminder, please keep a lookout for an email which will include the link to the recording. And thank you, Alice, for sharing a PDF of your slides today.
Yeah.
And most importantly, a short survey. We value your feedback and would love to know what other webinar workshop topics you would love to learn more about. Thank you so much again to Alice and Yvette for your time. This was so fantastic. I think something that we all learned was we should really take the time to take care of ourselves as much as we care about our businesses. And on behalf of Shop Small Hawaii and MCBL team, we also want to give a special thank you to Central Pacific Bank for being the signature funder for Shop Small Hawaii. We greatly appreciate your continued support for Hawaii small business. That now wraps up our webinar for today, and we will see you at our next webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.